one thing about me is this. I tend to wish to do nothing but speak the truth. No matter how unpleasant that truth may be. And I believe firmly that the only way we can make progress, the only way that you can fulfill your destiny and be a pride to your God is by speaking that truth, no matter what the consequences are. It really doesn't matter what will happen tomorrow, to me, to anybody else that is here. What matters is that we speak the truth for today so that posterity may be kind to us, and God, who created all that is, might in his infinite wisdom and mercy reward us for standing for the truth and refusing to bow before that which is evil and that which is nothing but pure tyranny. We came here today to discuss unity, faith, peace, and progress. And of course, there is a glaring example of that in the efforts of the Haske Association and Foundation and the celebrant, who has manifested that in his life and in his career. He has preached unity, practiced it. He has faith in his God. He has brought peace wherever he goes. He has brought progress, even when, as he flew over parts of his state a number of years ago, he was being shot at by Boko Haram terrorists, and he was almost killed. He didn't stop. He continued with the good work he's been doing. Let's look at our country, though. Sadly, I have to align my views with that of Obadiah, who spoke earlier and said, ask the question, what unity? What faith? What peace? What progress? What on earth are we talking about? You talk about peace and progress and unity when the things that are going on in this country today are going on and we act as if they're not? You talk about it. You dream about it. You want it. We all crave for it, we pray for it. But look at what is happening. We act as if we have been mesmerized or that we're under some kind of spell. And it's not just about today. It is about over the last 60 years. 60 years of injustice, of wickedness, of tyranny, and of slaughter. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the history of our country. And it matters not to me if you want to hear it or if you like me or not. Because truth is what matters, no matter the consequences. Why do I say this? Why do I say this? Well, I won't go too much into history because there's not enough time. Most of us here are conversant with our very ugly past. But a situation whereby 3 million people, not 2, 3, and 1 million of them were children, civilians, were slaughtered in a civil war with no apology, with no reparations. We act as if it never happened, and we refuse to acknowledge it. That in itself is unacceptable in any civilized society. Regardless of the reasons, there can be no reason. There can be no justification for the barbarity that these people were subjected to. I'm talking about the people of the East. I'm not from there. But it was barbaric. And we need to think about settling that issue before God, before even talking about progress. Let's talk about the situation of the people of the Middle Belt, which is very interesting because I've been living in this part of the country, the Middle Belt, since 2001. And if anybody can be categorized as a Middle Belter, I can be just as much as anybody else, by virtue of the fact that I've been living here for a considerable period of time. Hey, look at the history. Look at what has happened. A people people whose very essence and history and personality has literally been stripped from them. A people who have been oppressed by a tiny minority, who have been told that you have no history, you have no faith, you have no religion, you must be dominated, you must be controlled, you must be told what to do, you must never be allowed to rule yourselves or determine your own destiny. That is the reality on the ground. And of course, we see the slaughter. I cannot understand it. I cannot, and I will never accept it, even if others do. It is not abnormal where Christmas Day 2016 and Christmas Eve, 800 people, women and children, civilians, were slaughtered in southern Kaduna. I don't understand it. And nobody was arrested for it. Killed by Fulani herdsmen. Nothing happened. The same is replicated in Taraba, in Adamawa, replicated all over the Middle Belt. Now it is encroached into the south. Yet we are even afeared to talk about these things. We dare not talk about it. We act as if it never happened. We push it, sweep it under the carpet. This is abnormal. A situation whereby in the south now, particularly in the southwest, in fact all over the south, all our forests in the southwest have been taken over by these same people, which is why we have to organize our own security, and we have no apology for that, and it's across party lines, and we will continue to do so. Because for us, it's not a question of semantics, it's not a question of what is right or wrong, it's a question of survival. And we shall survive as a people no matter what. You go to the southeast, where thousands of young men and women over the last 4 years have been slaughtered because they say they want to have the right of self-determination and they're calling for a referendum. And they are being slaughtered on a daily basis. Go to the cells of the east, and I've been there, and go and see what they do to them, how they keep them. That's if they don't kill them. You go to the south, similar story. Tyranny, barbarity, wickedness. And of course, if you stand up to it and say this is not acceptable, they come after you. That is the Nigeria of today. And we talk about unity. We talk about unity. Well, if we look at our armed forces, we look at our security agencies, 17 of them in total in this country today. A multi-ethnic, multi-religious, multicultural country, or supposedly so. And every single security agency in this country, apart from the Navy, and I'm talking about operational command, I'm not talking about Chief of Defense Staff, Administrative Command, every single one of them, apart from the Navy, is headed by a northern Muslim. Is that justice? No. Is that justice? Then you have Boko Haram, a barbaric organization that takes pleasure in slaughtering innocent civilians. Cowards. Their leader is a coward, and they are cowards. And all those that stand with them and support them and justify them and try to rationalize their barbaric actions are cowards. I say that today. And yet, we treat them almost with kid gloves, release them en masse, fund them by paying off ransoms, and yet they continue to slaughter. And I'll say something here today, which many people don't like to hear, particularly people in the north. And that is this. The reality is that though not all the time, but the majority of the time, it is Christian communities that are targeted by these people. And I ask myself, why? You talk about unity. Well, you tell me, and this is beyond politics, because when somebody describes the politician, it's almost become an insult in this country. I'm not a politician. Politicians tend not to speak truth. They tend to be politically correct. And this is not a time for that. I am a man of the future. I am a man of destiny. The truth will see me through, no matter whatever evil eye may be getting for what I'm saying today. But listen to this. A situation whereby people will go to a state like Plateau State, butcher the people, kill everybody there in a community, burn the place to the ground, then occupy the place, and then change the name of that community to a Fulani name is unacceptable to me as a Nigerian. And this is what we fear. This is what we reject. This is what we resist. And as far as we are concerned, this is a liberation struggle. If you had an Obasanjo in power, a man who I work for, who I love, who is like a father to me, it would have been a little bit different. Because he refused to talk about religion. He refused to talk about tribe. He refused to talk about ethnicity. And if you bring it to his doorstep, he will throw you out. If you had someone like Jonathan or even Yaradua, it wouldn't have mattered. Because we manage each other, we try and accommodate each other, we try and carry each other along. Well, you have somebody that is totally different, with a different perspective in power today, who believes there's nothing wrong with having 90% of the people working in the villa, and I worked there for many years. We balanced everything. But today, 90% of the people working there are Northern Muslims, and Hausa is the lingua franca. A situation where NNPC, you go there, every single manager, key manager in every sensitive position in NNPC today is a Northern Muslim, including the GMD and of course including the substantive ministers, the president himself. You go to every single sector. It has become a crime and almost a curse to be one, a Christian, to be to a southerner, to be through a middle belter in Nigeria today. And that is why we refuse to accept it as it is. And that is why the call for self-determination cannot be wished away, no matter how much some want it to go. It's not going anywhere. The more you kill, the more you maim, the more you jail, the more you suppress, the more you remove our identity, the more you remove our foundation, the more you insult us, the more we will cry out and say enough is enough. If we want peace, if we want unity, if we want progress in this country, then let us come together as human beings and recognize the fact that killing, murder and mayhem cannot be a solution for anything. Let us dialogue, let us talk, let us devolve power. Now I'll end with this. The old men in the South, and when I say that, I say this with the greatest respect to them, the great elders in our society and our community, talk today about restructuring. They talk about devolution. They talk about equity. They say such things with such power and with such eloquence. And that's fair enough, because some of us have been talking about that and saying that for many, many years, and nobody listened. But let me tell you something, and this is the bitter truth. The younger men, particularly in the South, are not talking about that anymore. They are now talking about the right to self-determination. They are now talking about the right to live in peace. They are now talking about dignity, honor, and a sense of history, looking at their past. And it's the same all over the country. To the people of the North, particularly those they call the northern minorities, who are not minorities, but are in fact the majority, I say, hold on, be strong, because many of us from the South are praying for you, and we are with you. We are together as one, and you are the hope of keeping this country together. It is because of you that we say we should remain together as a country, but we must join hands, and we must fight it together. Evil always has an expiry date, and this one too shall pass in the name of Jesus. Amen.